Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. Today I'm honored to speak with Judah Fried. Judah Fried is a journalist, author, storyteller, and an activist. He is the author of Making Global Sense, Grounded Hope for Democracy and the Earth, which is the subject we will be covering today. First of all, Judah, thank you so kindly for being here.
Certainly.
Tell me a little bit about your book, Making Global Sense. What inspired you to write it?
Well, I started working on the book more than 20 years ago. And I've had several iterations of it that have been published. It's won a bunch of awards. The origin of the book was after 9/11, I saw a lot of laws being passed in our country and in other countries that were extremely repressive and taking away our civil rights and liberties. And so I used Thomas Paine's Common Sense as a template for the book Global Sense, which has evolved into what I now call Making Global Sense. And it follows Paine's structure and logic to build the argument for us really recognizing that we are all interconnected and globally interdependent, shall we say, and that if we're aware of that oneness that we all share in common, then we're going to live more responsibly, just naturally. It doesn't take any lofty authority to do it. It just springs forward naturally from within. And so, for example, where Paine went after monarchy and hereditary succession, I talk about authority addiction and alpha male rule, because we men have been in charge. You know, we get harmed by us trying to be in charge, and it's time we let go of that load. We don't need to be carrying that nonsense. And so that's another conversation, gender equality. But you know, and where Paine called for a revolution, I'm calling for evolution. And where Paine advocated that we declare independence and have a revolution. You know, I'm saying that and declare a democratic republic. I'm advocating that mindful self-rule and personal democracy, both the inner and the outer, of how that global sensibility guides our behavior. And between that, I think that people can start leading responsible lives. So personal responsibility transcends from being a political slogan into being an actual way of life. And social responsibility transcends from being, another political slogan into actually being a way of life. And so I'm saying that if we have a global sensibility, those two marry. And it affects foreign policy, it affects commerce, it affects healthcare, which we've talked about. It affects gender, it affects everything, all parts of life, in my opinion.
In talking about gender, in the second part of your book, you speak about the alpha male rule, authority to addiction, and money and power. I found it interesting. Tell me a little, kind of expand on that a bit.
Well, I've been involved in the men's movement since the early 70s. I had a woman who I was dating at the time saying, you're living a lie, and that, you need to wake up. So I started doing conscience raising stuff, originally in co-ed groups, and then I started getting involved with men's things, men's activities, men's circles, and other stuff. And that's been very instrumental for me. So I've done a lot of shadow work, which is active, the main part of the men's movement. It's kind of a Gestalt kind of work. And, I've learned that those parts of myself that needs to be in charge so that I feel safe, which is the typical male behavior, it's an illusion. Because what really matters is just that I'm just a ball of light, walking around this bag of water. And, so if I know that, then I can make different choices. And so I no longer feel the need to dominate women. I want women as partners that we can share, we can laugh, we can rejoice. And, that's part of the reason why my ex-wife and I are still best friends, because even though there was things that didn't make it work as a marriage, the mutual respect and mutual support that grew out of that relationship, sustaining. And so, I'll be honest, I look at how we've recently seen the MAGA stuff, touting alpha male rule.
Oh man, yeah.
Which is, first of all, it's a misunderstanding of what it means, because the goal isn't to rule others; the goal is to rule oneself. And they're consecrating the worst habits, the worst male traits. And for example, in a good male support group, in a good men's support group or circle or whatever you want to call it, men can drop their masks, get real, speak from their heart, get vulnerable, cry, rant, rage, do whatever they need to do to be in touch with their emotions, all of the emotions, sad, mad, glad, afraid, grief, all of the emotions, and share them in a safe place where you're not going to be judged, ideally, and the people just listen and be supportive and say, okay, how can we help you process through that? This is different than what has become in some, what they call men's support groups, or they use the term male bonding, which is really an excuse for, for sports betting and bashing women and, getting drunk and all those old male behaviors, but it's male bonding. But that's not what real brotherhood is about, in my experience. So that's what I'm talking about there. The idea of authority addiction. In my early 20s, I became a loyal Moonie. And matter of fact, there's an interview I did with Stephen Hassan, who just published a new edition of the Cult of Trump. And we were both in the Moonies at slightly the same time. He was a national leader, I was a state leader. But it was, I gave away my power to some worshipful, masterful leader, a father figure, because I didn't get along with my own father, but I didn't know that at the time.
You didn't put it together. It
took me a while. What blessed me to walk away from that was that I tried to recruit a rich uncle in San Francisco who had actually been vetted for the Supreme Court. And he said, I can't afford to give up my job. So, this is a guy who at age 70 gave up his 300 lawyer law practice and started a lean litigation machine. He described it with only 70 lawyers.
Wow.
So I guess I take after him in some ways, because here I am 70, almost 74 and still going. But he asked me the question, do you believe because you really believe, or you believe because you want to believe? It's the same question I would ask a lot of the people that are true believers on the far right, and even some true believers on the far left. But it's the idea that if we are looking outside of ourselves for validation, for guidance, for whether it's moral or ethical, then we lose touch with the inner essence of who we are, which is eternal spirit, light in all its forms. And so it took me a while to realize that. And so I think that this authority addiction shows up throughout history of empires, men seeking empires to make themselves feel good and powerful. Whereas if they really just let go of all that ambition and just had the ambition just to be themselves, wow, imagine how our world could be better.
I mean, it would be more than better. I mean, so basically, if I follow you, let me ask it this way.
I'm laying out a lot at once, I realize.
No. I mean, I think you're doing great. I just want to ask a question in this manner. For those who would look at what you've just said as being sort of esoteric or that's just not how the world works. Actually, first of all, I do believe that is how the world could work. I do believe that this thing that men believe they need to be omnipotent or above everything else, and I think it is the cause of all of the isms, whether that be sexism, racism, and all of those things. It is the insecurities of those who practice it under the dominion of those who use it as a tool that is the issue. But how do we promote, how in a society like ours do we get people to look within themselves and realize that there's another way? It's not being woke. There's another way.
Well, bear in mind that the put down for woke is an excuse to avoid awakening.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I will say that some of the people who have been woke have been doing that same thing of trying to get people to agree with them so they feel good about themselves, which is unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
But to take it down to a practical level, the subtitle of the book is Ground in Hope, because I talk about a lot of things that people are doing in practical ways, and it extends in a lot of areas. For example, for climate change, yes, there's things that we can do in terms of changing our lifestyle. Like I bought a used electric car. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars. You can go buy it. There's lots of used electrics out on the market. I use the light bulbs that are
LEDs.
That last for years, LEDs.
Right.
And, compact fluorescent for a while, and now I've switched to LEDs. But those are simple things. I eat organic and natural, so I don't contribute to the over chemical, stuff, which helps my health and other things.
Oil-based fertilizers, etc. Yeah.
All that. And so there's a lot of lifestyle things that we can do individually. But on top of that, we can then get locally involved in our community. And again, if we're doing this for trying to get external validation, I got to get praise from my community so I feel good about myself, that's still missing the point. The light has to come from within. It already is there. We just have to see it. The truth is that if you can approach this not so much from metaphysical, but approach from a physics point of view, everything is atoms, which is made out of energy, which is made out of light. Mm-hmm. So fundamentally, we're nothing but light. And as such, since light doesn't really carry inherent judgments of superiority or inferiority, there's a balance between light matter and dark matter, but it's and there's just like thing of light and shadow, but it's all one. It's all one. So if we know that, then that need for being superior over another, that ego drive, or narcissistic ego drive, as some people suffer, it just evaporates.
Now,
so that's a practical thing that we can do. But this within the community, people can, for example, go to school board meetings and fight book bans. They can go to the city council meetings and speak up when there's a bill that's being passed that is just clearly corrupt. I spent years covering Denver politics, and it's amazing. Every time the Broncos got in the Super Bowl, all kinds of really corrupt laws would get passed by city council. Show up, pay attention, tell the truth, and let the chips fall where they may. At worst, we're going to grow.
And the thing about it as well is, if we follow those principles, I think things like autocracy doesn't naturally occur as it has the possibility of occurring right now. So tell me, to close out, why should somebody go ahead and pick up this book? What should they expect by the time they've read page 213, Begin the World Anew? What should they feel?
The book interweaves essay and memoir. So I tell my story, some of which I've shared here, interwoven with the modern update of Paine's Common Sense. And so what they'll gain from it is insights into themselves, insights into the nature of the world, insights into the forces that are driving us to destroy our environment. We're so close to that point of no return on the ecology. Every summer is getting hotter and hotter. There's just been reports recently saying that we might already be past that point. Now it's a matter of mitigating it rather than reversing it. Mm-hmm. So you'll get a lot of practical information on things that you can do that other people have done. And you'll also find some hope in the fact that I document there's at least 1 billion people, between 1 and 2 billion people on the planet who have this global sensibility, who realize we're all interconnected, interdependent, one, united, whatever language you want to use for that. Whether you approach it from string theory or you approach it from, metaphysics and karma, it's all really the same concept with different language talking about it. So So that's the main point I make, is that if we can realize our innate unity and our natural wholeness, that's going to start changing the way we interact with ourselves, with other people, in our communities, our societies, our families, and our world. So it's incremental. But if I can say that I'm doing anything, is I'm doing my best to empower the readers to claim the power that's dwelling within them already.
I love that. Empower. Let the there. I know this is a closer, but I want to kind of add to what you just said, and that is, I met a young man at a conference that I went to, and I said, I want to empower people, and he rephrased it a bit more, and he said, what you need to do is let folks know that they're already empowered to be empowered. And
yes.
I just love the way all of that actually comes together. So, Judah Freed, it's been my pleasure. It's been my honor to have you on Politics Done Right, and with your book, Global Sense, Grounded Hope for Democracy and Earth.
And people can go to globalsense.com, and there's a list of all the places where you can get the book worldwide, and except for some countries where it's not available. And I just released the ebook version, and so that's now available either for order or pre-order.
It'll be in the blog attached to this video as well. So thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
I'm grateful. Bless you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.